Dear content creator, what's stopping you from posting the content? If you're listening to this or watching on YouTube, I'm sure that you have a great piece of content just there collecting dust in your drafts. It might be a video, a blog post, or even a picture. But for some reason, you just can't bring yourself to hit post. Is it because you're afraid of being seen? Or is it because perfectionism has you in a chokehold? Release yourself from that. Yes. Today, we're going to talk about why the fear of being seen is holding back a lot of content creators from showing up and how you can get past it. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Dear Content Creator. I am your host, Karis Maggie. Thank you so much for tuning in. And y'all, happy new month. I don't know where September was rushing off to, but the way September came, I was like, okay, bye. Now we are here in October and I cannot believe that the year is flying by so quickly. So yeah, y'all, the year is ending real soon, but thank you so much for tuning in. This is our third episode. If you have listened to the first two, I'm just going to put my little announcement out there from now. Y'all, please help us. If you're watching this on YouTube, just hit the like button, okay? You don't even have to subscribe. Just hit the like button. If you feel led to subscribe because you want to hear more episodes, then of course hit subscribe. And if you are listening on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to your podcast, give us a rating, y'all. It helps us so much. A new podcast like me to be discovered. So I would really appreciate that. And if you want to see the success of this podcast, listen, I'm not too proud to say I need help. Our girl Riri, she's a billionaire today because all of us who have been buying the Fenty products, when Fenty came out, we went and took her coin and bought Fenty. That is what has helped her to become a millionaire today, a billionaire actually. So I'm not going to be prideful to ask for the help. So y'all, help your girl with the ratings, all right? All right, cool. Now that we've got that out of the way, you heard from the intro what we're going to be talking about today. The fear of being seen. Why are so many of us who are either interested in being a content creator or already a content creator afraid of being seen? And it's kind of ironic because the whole point of being a content creator is that you create content for public consumption. You're uploading it onto the internet because you want to build an audience, you want to build a community that you will hopefully get to monetize later on. If we didn't want to share it with the world, then we could just keep journaling or keep it as a private diary for ourselves. But the fact that you want to be a content creator in itself means that you would like to get and tap into the online, community and get some attention, awareness, and build your community in that way. So that is what we're going to be talking about today, y'all. Let us start off with kind of understanding where the fear of being seen comes from. Now, y'all, I don't know who needs to hear this, but people don't care as much as you think they do. You put in so much thought and energy into thinking that people care is what is preventing you from just posting the damn content and seeing where it goes. I actually seen a lot of conversation about this online where people are like, no one cares. No one cares. You're the only one that cares that much that people care. And to really survive in the content creator space, you can't really be second guessing yourself or really caring about the opinions of people. And yes, when you start out, it's going to be quote unquote cringe, as they would say. But that's a part of the process. You are posting something, basically talking to a camera, the whole process is going to be uncomfortable. And no matter how much confidence you have in the world, there will be times where you're like, I don't know, should I post this, should I not? We really need to get to the root cause of why so many of us think or care so much about what other people think. And I think for all of us, it stems from different things. So I'm going to talk from my personal experience. So when I started off, if you listen to the first episode where I talked about why I became a content creator, I actually talked about my journey in starting it had nothing to do with wanting to be popular or monetizing content. I really didn't know how this world of content creation worked when I started in 2016. And so when I posted my first video, it was literally to be helpful for people who kept asking me questions about moving to Canada to become a student. So for me, I didn't really have anything to lose. I didn't care. I think that's what helped me in the beginning. I really didn't have those voices to hear about like, what will people think or people's opinions and all of these things, because the reason for why I was doing it is I'm tired of repeating myself. Let me post it, make these videos. And if anyone asks me questions, I'll just send them the link. If they have any more questions, they can feel free to ask me. But that was really my main reason for making it. But part of caring what other people think, there are different reasons for it for all of us. So for me, I'll say I have some insecurities when it comes on to my voice. I mean, even to start this damn podcast, I was like, oh, I don't have the, seductive radio voice, or I'm not a motivational speaker where I have the gems that I can drop. Like, when you listen to some podcasts and you're like, gems. Yep. I was like, I don't think that's me. And so, yes, I was afraid to put myself out there in this new venture for sure. But I had to just come to the realization that, hey, if I don't do it, someone else will. And even if someone else does, I'm speaking from my experience. There's enough room for all of us out here to be seen, to share our thoughts and ideas on similar topics, right? So I know that is like one of my insecurities. For other people, if we're being honest, we live in a world where the more physically attractive you are, the more, what's the word? Like, people will excuse certain things because you are good to look at. You know what I mean? So for a lot of us who are already self-conscious with how we look, we know the internet is a very mean place when we're talking about fat phobia, when we're talking about racism, when we're talking about all these different featureism. People can be very mean on the internet. And so I'm not going to take it lightly that the reason a lot of people are afraid to put themselves out there is, yes, because they care what people are going to think. And I know a lot of us think that we only care about the opinions of like our friends and family. I think I'm at the point where I don't really care about what friends or families will think of what I post. It's mostly of the strangers who don't know me, because they're the ruthless ones with their comments, right? And so that brings me to the second point of like why a lot of us are afraid to put ourselves out there and to be seen. And it's because we are afraid of being judged. That's just the reality of it. Like, people can be very mean online. I mentioned some things that some of us might be facing in terms of insecurity physically, especially with putting yourself out there online. A lot of us do video content. There is so much that people can nitpick about you. And those negative comments, they can really get to you at some point. And so I don't want to make it seem like it's such an easy thing to get over. There are so many things to consider and to know, is this worth, for my mental health? Will I be able to handle it? If I run into these issues, probably thinking about how will I handle it if, it comes to those situations. So that is definitely like the second thing I would say that affects us having the fear of being seen. And the last thing that I would say that kind of sums up all of this is some of us, like, perfectionism has us in a chokehold. And I actually heard someone say that perfectionism is actually just a fancy way of procrastinating, because nothing is ever going to be perfect. You're going to always find something wrong with it. And so you won't ever get it to the place where it is perfect. So it makes sense to, I think the phrasing that a lot of us say is, it's better to be Done is better than perfect, right? Raise your hand if you've ever felt like the content you made wasn't good enough to share. Yes. We have all been there at some point. I don't think there's anyone who has always been 100% confident in every single thing that they put out. The biggest creators out there also second guess themselves, always want to like make something super perfect, especially when you're a creator that, for example, you go viral. There's always that pressure of, I need to make the next thing better than this thing that went viral. There's that expectation to outdo yourself all the time. And so I don't think it's something that is just confined to just you. Like, you're not alone on this particular feeling. A lot of us experience it. It's natural. We are our biggest critiques. Before anyone else criticizes our work or tells us if it's good or bad, we are the ones looking at it and basically saying some of the meanest things to ourselves before we even put it out there as well. And so as long as you have something that it has value, those are like the important things when you're putting out content out there with the intention of, I want this to reach someone to either entertain, educate, inspire. Like, those are the three main reasons a lot of us like put content out there. Then the rest will follow. Like, you will get better at being more confident on camera, or you'll get better at scripting, like having a very concise script that you can, get your points across. Maybe in the beginning when you start, you're stumbling a bit more. That's what editing is for, y'all. We have all these tools that can help us with areas where we're not so perfect in. We can get to that point where we make it a bit more perfect, if that makes sense, or almost perfect. So if you're someone that you can't talk for 5 minutes straight without making a mistake, then maybe you just have to say whatever you're saying by sentences and then kind of like put it together. And that is something I actually had to do starting out. At one point, I couldn't just say my points one after the other just like that. I had to like kind of pause, look at my script, make sure I'm following like my bullet points or my notes so I'm staying on a certain track. And then I would say it to the camera and then go back, look at my script, say that to the camera. And then over time, by just continuously doing it, practicing being on camera, practicing talking, and eventually building the confidence to talk about the topic that I was talking about, it got a bit easier. And if you listen to the first episode, you would know that I've been doing this for 8 years now. So again, it is also a process to this thing, right? I think that part of this also maybe has to do with, I talked about it before, and I think I talked about it in episode 1 and 2, imposter syndrome. That is something that will also affect your ability to make that next move to just post the content. Because we're going back to these thoughts again. Am I good enough? Is this content good enough? Will anyone watch it? The most humbling thing, like, I'm going to tell y'all from now, the most humbling thing for me as a creator every time, and it's weird because I love it and hate it at the same time, but it's when I do something new and having to grow something from ground zero all the way up. It's very humbling in the beginning to like see what the views are like. Like, it's not just going to be this big old, increase in views right away. Just alone with this podcast, right? I put out 2 episodes so far. And I mean, thank you all for everyone who has listened so far and downloaded. But it's truly humbling because you really see like, oh, just because I have an audience for one thing doesn't necessarily mean that they will follow me over to another platform. Doesn't mean that they are the correct target audience for that. And that is fine. And why I say it's a love-hate relationship for me, or why I love it and hate it at the same time, is because yes, it can bruise your ego a little bit, but I'm also someone who is, I find it fun to start over. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that I moved so many times in my life. Like, I moved to 4 different countries, lived in 4 different countries in my life. And even within those countries, I moved around to like different cities, or if you are from Jamaica, you would say parishes. If you're from Belize, we say districts, because I also lived in Belize as well. And I think I have fun in starting over and seeing what I'm able to accomplish and what can come out of that process as well. So that's like, maybe it's a coping mechanism for me that I built up through that lived experience I had. I don't know. But it's truly humbling to like see those views, see those downloads, and then look at your, Instagram page. You're posting clips. You're like, will this be the one that goes viral? Will this be the one that, gets views and maybe gets me followers? And I just constantly am reminded of, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If it is something new, it's going to take time to build it, and I should just enjoy the process. And so, yes, it is scary to always put yourself out there, to always post the content. But I would say for me, and I'm going to share a personal story with you guys before I talk about, what are the things that we can do to get past it. I would say if I had stopped myself from posting content, I wouldn't have had so many of the opportunities I have today. I can't tell y'all how many times I recorded a video, edited it, and I'm like, nah, man, this not ready yet. This not good enough for post. And it's always, tell me if I'm lying, isn't it always the videos, the posts that you doubt the most that seems for some reason to do the best? Isn't it? And that's something that I always find interesting, and it just makes me know, you know what do you have to lose? If someone sees it, great. If no one sees it, it's whatever. They won't be able to see whatever mistakes you probably made. So you're getting to learn and adapt and adjust and learn from, what you've currently put out. Because one thing I say to people is when it comes on to being a content creator, in order for you to learn, adjust your content, evolve and, make any changes necessary here and there, you have to put out content. You have to see what your audience is resonating with, what they actually like, what maybe they don't like so much. And that's what I did throughout this 8-year span. I started out with one thing as a need for people, but realized, you know what? As much as it's something I think I need to do to help people, it's not something I enjoy. And because I didn't enjoy doing it, people could also probably see that and it didn't resonate with them that much. I didn't get too personal with my videos. That is something I had to learn over time, how to infuse storytelling into my content, because even though there are so many creators out there and we talk so much about how the space is saturated, you have a unique voice. You have a unique story to tell and a unique perspective as well that someone can also resonate with. And it will just take time. And that's fine. For some people, they might grow overnight. For some of us, it will be a marathon, and that's completely fine. Actually, as we're talking about how it can sometimes feel cringe and just weird to put yourself out there, recently I've been trying to vlog more, and I felt so insecure about vlogging in public. Like, it just feels so weird, and people looking at you, especially if you live in Toronto, like being in a populated space, people are always like looking at you and wondering what you're doing. So, quick segue into our things I'm loving right now segment. I am absolutely loving the DJI Pocket. I actually have the 2, and it is so cute. Like, it's so small. Like, look at that. Look at that cutie. It's a small vlogging camera. I can take it with me anywhere. I can hold it in my purse, and it just makes vlogging like so easy for me to do. And one thing I always hear from people is that you can't even tell that I'm vlogging. Like, you really can't tell that I'm vlogging. It's so, not so obvious. And recently, as I've been, trying to find different ways to do content, especially on my actual YouTube channel, Charismatic TV, vlogging is something that I wanted to do more, to be able to do content in a different way and talk about my experiences. Show more of, living in Toronto and showing what that is like from a cultural perspective, because that is what my content is about. And so this has been a really great tool for me. So yeah, like finding ways to do content with tools that doesn't make it feel so out of place also helps. So if that is something that you're interested in, vlogging and just making content that is more lifestyle based, things like that, highly recommend that you check it out. I'm going to put the link to the product in the description. There's also the DJI Pocket 3. That one allows you to, so you see how this only has a little screen? The 3 actually has a bigger screen where it can flip out. So you can record in portrait and in landscape mode, which for those of us who do short form and long form content, that it comes in clutch. And because it's a gimbal, your videos are always stabilized. I can't talk enough about it. So yeah, that's my little plug that I'm sharing with y'all for today in this segment. And yeah, let's continue to talk about the fear of showing up and how we can get past that fear. Now, I kind of touched on this a bit when I rambled a little bit, but let's talk about how you can get past that fear. And I hope this will be helpful because I think it's different for everybody how they go about navigating. For some of us, it's really just going to be maybe we need to work on our confidence first before we can even get started. And you don't have to be 100% in your confidence, but maybe there are areas that affect the root cause of why you are so afraid to be seen that you probably need to work on first before you put yourself out there. Because again, when you put yourself out there, just know that there will be, judgment, criticism, negative comments that come from people. But it's like, how will you handle that is also easy for you to think about. Maybe we'll have that talk in another episode, but I just want to make sure I make that clear. It's not just, you post and you're good. You still will have these things that you have to know how you're going to navigate and figure out how to approach them as well. So first things first, definitely just start small. I know for a lot of us, we always have the big picture in our head of what we want to do. And it can get overwhelming when you have this big picture in your head and then it's time to act on it. So start small. If you don't have the bandwidth to post every single day, you don't have to post every day, by the way, find a way for you to actually start posting where you're getting comfortable. You're seeing what people are probably resonating with, what they're interested in. You're looking at what the analytics are probably telling you, and that also helps you for the different things you do with your content when you do decide to post again. Now, if you want to get those results quicker, that's where posting every day would come in, of course. But as someone that you want to get started and you don't want to have analysis paralysis and all of that, start on a smaller scale first and then build your way up. Maybe doing videos right out the gate isn't something that you can do, but you love to write. Start with writing and then see how that can, transfer into something else. Because being a content creator isn't just, making videos. There are also people who write blogs. Anyone who makes content for the online community is a content creator pretty much, right? So that's the first thing. You don't have to go from 0 to 100 just like that. The second thing is focus on the value that you bring. I think if you understand your why from the very beginning, this will make it much more easier as time goes on. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy all the time, but as time goes on, it will make it easier because you get to continue to show up because you know what your why is. You know the value you're trying to bring to your audience and you understand the uniqueness of your voice and what you bring to your audience. In another episode, we'll talk about, your niche and finding your audience and things like that, because these are fundamentals that I think content creators have to know and understand. You can't be trying to talk to everybody. And yes, we all need a niche. Even if we're talking about being the niche, you still have an idea of what people know you for. And why they would come and continue to watch your videos. You have to know what that value is that you're bringing to your audience. And the last thing I would say is ensure that you surround yourself with a community. Surround yourself with people who get it. So if it's fellow content creators, maybe it's people who do similar content as you, finding ways to collaborate with them. That's something that we can talk about in another episode as well. But usually It helps when you're able to bounce ideas off other creators. Maybe you can send them a video or a thumbnail for them to give their feedback to you on their thoughts, if that is something you're comfortable with, getting feedback from other creators in your space. Like, these are little things that you can do to help you with getting past this fear. But I'm going to tell you right now, this fear, it's going to always be there. It's just going to always be there, because we will always have moments where we question if we should put something out there or not. And that is completely normal, to have those feelings. It is not going to always be perfect. Nothing is perfect, actually. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And with that, I want to segue into our segment, Creator News. So I have a couple of events that I want to put on your radar, because I think this will help with helping you feel a bit more, what's the word? We talk about needing a community. And for a lot of us who you probably don't go out a lot and you're finding it difficult to find other content creators to connect with, it's hard to do it online. Going to in-person events is a great way to do that. And so there are a couple events that I want to tell y'all about, especially if you're in Toronto. These are events you want to put on your radar. Side note, shameless plug, click the link in the description box if you're watching this on YouTube, or in the show notes if you're listening, for my newsletter, because I will be sending out updates for events and things like that relevant to content creators to keep on your radar. So the first one is Platform Media, which is happening October 10th. That is around the corner. By the time this episode goes up, y'all would be able to hear about that. But this is an event for creators, influencers, and marketers, like bringing us together in the same room. And it usually is a one-day event with panel discussions. And you really get to just hear the stories of successful creators that you probably look up to, learning a bit more about their journey and seeing that some of the things that you sometimes experience or that you suffer from, that they also have those experiences. So it's a good way to kind of hear from people that you admire and look up to, while also being in the same room with people from like YouTube or Snapchat. Like, those executive people will be at the event as well. There's also Buffer Festival. This is happening November the 1st and 2nd. And this is also a creator-based event similar to the one I mentioned before, where bringing you in a room with other creators to network, learn, and really it's really mostly for you to network with other creators. Step outside your comfort zone and just get to learn more about other creators who are in the same city as you. Now, y'all, we're going to wrap up this episode with, I think this is my favorite segment, the Dear Future Me. I want y'all, as a reminder, to do this as an activity. Journaling, if it's something that you do, this is a perfect way for you to like write letters to your future self and like read it back, in a year time, 6 months time, however you want to go about tracking your journey. And so for today's episode, here we go for the Dear Future Me segment. Dear Future Me, I hope you're proud of how far you've come. Remember the moment when you were scared to post your first video? When you thought no one would care about what you had to say? Well, look at you now. You've pushed past those doubts and you've showed up time and time again. Keep going, keep sharing. Your voice matters more than you know. And even if the fear still pops up, you now know how to face it head on. I just love these little notes that I write to myself at the end. I hope, as I said, that you will use it as an opportunity to, do it. It kind of feels weird to do it at first, but I think as I've been journaling more, I've gotten more into the habit of doing it. And it was something that I wanted to ensure I had on the podcast, because I want there to always be a reflection piece after we discuss and I do my little rambling about a specific topic or whatever the case might be. But as always, y'all, thank you so much for listening. Again, happy October. I am super excited for what the rest of the year has to bring, and I want to wish all of you the best for the rest of the year. If you liked the episode, don't leave your girl hanging. hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, and also remember, you can now leave a comment on Spotify. So leave me a comment on Spotify, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave it there. And don't forget to leave your girl a rating, okay? Leave a girl a rating. Until next time, y'all. Bye.